REI Co-op presents a perfect outdoor moment with the perfect gift. Picture this. You're ripping with your favorite person. Bluebird skies, blower powder, and frankly, you're skiing like legends.
So sick. Another lap?
Thanks to REI's curation, from lid to sticks, you nailed the gift.
No way. How'd you know?
Does it get more perfect than that? Give without guessing. Shop in store or visit rei.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
When cool, creamy ranch meets tangy, bold buffalo, the whole is greater than the sum of its sauce. Say howdy, partner, to new Buffalo Ranch sauce. Only at McDonald's for a limited time.
At participating McDonald's.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallis. On the 21st of November, the much-anticipated 2025-26 Men's Ashes Series will begin at the Optus Stadium in Perth, before the contest moves on to Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne and Sydney. Another classic battle between England and Australia awaits. In this special series of 5 episodes, I've been asking my guests for their thoughts on what we might see over the 5 tests, including former players, journalists, commentators, authors, a painter, a musician, a racehorse trainer, and more. Welcome to part 5, our final part of Who Will Win the Men's Ashes, with your host, Stephen Wallis. Hello, Archie. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, last time we spoke was in March this year, in episode 328. And since we last spoke, you've moved counties from Gloucestershire to Durham.
Yeah. Remember not a big topic of what we spoke last time, but being like a young professional going into your last year is always quite scary. And I think this is proof of you don't know what's going to happen. I was very happy at Gloucestershire and would have just loved a contract at the end of the year. And then all of a sudden you have a few good performances and you get counties like Durham coming after you. So it's proof of you never know what's going to happen.
Because you played in the game against Zimbabwe, I think, before the Zimbabwe test.
Yeah, that was a good week. That actually came from net bowling at England.
I think your dad told me that off air that's how that came about.
Yeah, I just went up for they picked like a few young bowlers to go net bowl at England, and I bowled really well. And then all of a sudden got a phone call asking if I wanted to be a part of that game, which was quite special.
So, a decision to move from your home county to Durham, was that a hard decision to make?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I'm very comfortable at Gloucestershire. I love it there. I've been there since I was probably 10 or 11, gone through the age groups. And like it's home for me. But moving to a county which have produced such amazing fast bowlers. If you look at, you've got Carse, Wood, Potts, Stokes. You've had Graham Onions. Like what they've got there is there's a reason they're doing it, and to be part of that is only going to make me better, I reckon.
And accommodation-wise, have you moved up there yet? I know you're back at your dad's at the moment.
No, I haven't moved up there fully yet. So for the loan, they put me up in where they put the overseas, and then I'm sort of in the process of trying to find somewhere now. Just for the 6 months and then join a few of the other younger lads in the summer. And
you got to play for Durham in the Metro Bank One Day Cup as well?
Yeah. I got, it's a bit different. Gloucestershire wanted to sort of back the players that were going to be there next year and give chances to other people, and they sort of said that there's not much point of like you'll probably play one or two if like a few injuries go down, but you're not going to be in our starting 11. And so then I got on the phone call to Durham, and who wanted me to come up, and it was really nice to get to know everyone before officially moving up.
And how did those games go for you?
Not particularly great, I'm going to be honest. We got put on. I played 2 or 3.
3, I think I looked up. Yeah.
3. I played anyway 2 at home on the exact same wicket, and it would have been a 50-yard boundary one side, leg side, on one of the flattest tracks I think I've ever played on. To the point I think we got like 340, 350, and then had it chased down. And we just couldn't believe it. The ball just didn't move. It was quite not very fun bowling on.
But how do you reflect on the whole season? You played some games for Gloucestershire last year.
Yeah. I played 3 on the bounce and the red ball, and then picked up a little like niggle, and sort of was a bit ummy and ahhing whether I'd play the next, and then through that sort of lost my spot in the team, which was unfortunate. But I had a good run, and I felt like I performed very well. I think stats wise, I came out with an average of 25 with playing 2 Kookaburra games. So I was actually overall very happy with how I played in those 3 games. Just annoying I didn't push on and play more.
Lots made of that. What's it like bowling with a Kookaburra ball?
I actually really don't mind it. I think they feel really nice in the hand, but they need to get the pitches right in order for them to do enough for a bowler. Otherwise, you just see. I mean, if you look at the whole Kookaburra season this year, it's just the high percentage of draws. Like they're so much higher, and once you get there, once the groundsmen get used to producing pitches for cookers, I think it will be completely different. But at the moment, it's sort of bringing in an overseas spinner to try and add something different, as the seamers can't really do it as much here.
So what have you got planned then for the winter? Are you going abroad to play any cricket?
No, I'm staying up in Durham. They said they wanted to do at least my first winter with them. Just working with the coaches and yeah, getting to know everyone before the first year. But I think I would have stayed anyway.
Well, let's talk about the Ashes. I've already heard from your dad in part 2. As a fast bowler, what do you make of the England fast bowling attack of 6 or even 7 if you include Ben Stokes bowlers?
I think it's a really exciting group. I think we've got a very good attack to go there. If you look at, you've got Tongue, you've got Cast, you've got Wood, all people who will constantly be on top of the batter, pushing them back for pace. I think Tongue's actually a very exciting one. Just adds that difference of angle. It almost bowls a bit similar-ish to Bumrah in the way he releases the ball. Just makes it quite difficult to pick it up and then moves it both ways. I think it's really exciting at 90 miles per hour. I'd hate to face him. And then you've got Potts, you've got Cast, Wood, Stokes. Who am I missing?
Oh, Jofra Archer and Mark Wood.
Oh yeah, well I think that adds to it more. Yeah, I think they've just filled the attack of bowlers that batters won't want to be facing. And then you've got Potts, who's I've spent 3 weeks with him, and he is a complete workhorse. Will come in after 30 overs in the day or 25 overs in the day and give you everything throughout those 30 overs.
That's what you're going to need though in Australia when it gets tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of umming and ahhing whether it be him or Sam Cook at the start of the year. but he still bowls quick enough, and then bowls like that Sam Cook where it just doesn't give the batter much. But then there's probably that argument over he might not be as skillful, but he is relentless when he comes in.
Is rotation of these bowlers going to be key, though, in playing 5 tests in less than 50 days?
Yeah, I think obviously Mark Wood and Jofra won't play all of them. I think there's still those concerns over injury. I mean, Wood's coming back in. When was his last game? Would have been a year ago.
Champions Trophy, I think, last time he
Yeah.
played. Yeah.
How good is that life? Just sort of getting injured, then coming straight back into the Ashes team.
Have you seen much of him in the gym then when you've been at Durham?
Um, I've seen him bowl, and I've seen him around quite a bit. They all are actually. I had the pleasure of bowling with him and felt very slow. But no, he's in quite a bit actually. Actually, it shocks me quite a lot how much those, I'd say, Cast, Stokes, and Wood are actually in the ground.
So they're very committed to Durham then, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, Stokes loves Durham. I haven't spoken to Cast that much about it, but even like showed this year when he got given the opportunity to come and play, he did.
And what about the Australian attack? We've got just written down the ages here: Stark 35, Hazelwood 34, Cummins 32, Boland 36, and Nathan Lyon's going to be 38 when the first test starts. Will they still be a major force playing 5 tests in less than 50 days?
Yeah, they are. They've been the best attack in the world for ages. They are phenomenal bowlers. I think the age is obviously worrying in a few years' time, but they will still cause us problems. They're so relentless.
And generally, what are your thoughts on the 5 test series?
I think the way England play, I think every game will be a result. I think it will be a 3-2 each way. I think it will be a very exciting series. I think it could quite likely go down to the last test for all to play for. And I mean, I hope and I want and I think England will win because I think we've got a very good squad for it. And if you look at Australia, they're struggling with their opening batters. I don't think they'll have an opening batter in mind for that first test.
No, it seems like they've got an audition at the moment in the Sheffield Shield to see who's going to open with Khawaja.
Yeah, and then even Khawaja has been very out of form. He's aging. I think if England capitalise on that and get into, and then I mean, who's going to bat 3? They had Cam Green at 3, Labuschagne dropped. They've tried. Was it Head? They tried Travis Head there as well.
He's more in the 5 though, isn't he? Head.
Yeah, and as a test team who you don't know who your top 3 are going to be, I think it's quite worrying. And you get into, if you can get Steve Smith in early whilst the ball's still moving, I think it gives you the best chance. And I think, if England capitalise on that, it could be very exciting.
Now, Dad in part 2 went for England 2-1. And before we get your prediction, the other thing, Dad's going out there for the 5th test at the SCG.
Yeah, we all are, actually.
Oh, you're going as well?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't say that on me when I spoke to him.
No, so my half-brother, Harry, lives in Sydney. So we're all going to visit him.
So you're hoping then when you get there, the Ashes is still going to be on the line?
Yeah, it could be quite a dull game otherwise, but I truly believe it will, actually.
So, prediction then. Dad went 2-1 England.
I'll go 3-2 England. I just don't see there being a draw.
We don't get much rain out there, so as you say, I don't think... Or Ben Stokes, as I often say, doesn't do draws.
No, I think they've drawn one game since him and McCullum have been in charge.
Yeah, we had that one at Manchester in the Ashes where it just poured with rain.
Yeah.
And the India test this summer when we had when Jadeja and Washington Sundar got all those runs.
Those would be the only 2 draws.
Yeah.
Both at Old
Pretty
Trafford.
sure, yeah. Well, I hope it is 3-2. It'll be an exciting series. Thank you very much, Archie, and the best of luck also for next season at Durham.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Eli. Great to chat with you again today about the much anticipated men's Ashes. How are you?
I'm doing good, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. We last chatted after Zimbabwe's Test match at Trent Bridge at the end of May, I think. Might have been the beginning of June. Lots happened since in Zimbabwe cricket. Fill us in.
Oh, there's been a lot that has happened in Zimbabwe since then. We had New Zealand that came in and played two test matches right here in Bulawayo, as well as South Africa. Then we had a triangular T20 tournament up in Harare, featuring all those two teams, New Zealand, South Africa, and the host Zimbabwe. And there was quite a lot of cricket that happened in that period of time. Zimbabwe got some heavy defeats, but I believe that was preparation for what was to come. Because after the series that we played against South Africa, we played very well versus Sri Lanka. Narrowly lost the T20 series 2-1. But that was also, like I said, preparation for us to come, because the most important thing that Zimbabweans were eyeing was qualifying for the World Cup. And we just happened to be hosting the World Cup qualifiers, the final stage for the Africa qualifier that were hosted right here in Zimbabwe. It was pleasant to be part of the community team that brought you live action of that. And Zimbabwe, they did the job. They got over the line. They won the qualifier, and they're part of the two teams that will be joining the rest of the group in the World Cup that will be played in India and Sri Lanka. So out of Africa, it came out Zimbabwe and Namibia. Those are the two top teams that picked up the two spots that were set aside for Africa in the qualifiers. I know right now the Asia qualifiers are happening. The UAE is playing in those as well. So it's just about to see who finishes our tops so that we can have all the teams that will be playing in the World Cup next year.
So all the matches against New Zealand and South Africa were great preparation for the global T20 qualifiers.
Yes, they were. The last leg of the Africa qualifier, because it was a great test of temperament for Zimbabwean cricketers playing against the world's best, so to say, when you have playing against a South African side that has got seasoned players, as well as a New Zealand side that is the likes of Matt Henry and the like. So it was really the highest form of preparation I could ever give Zimbabwe, and it did show in the way in which they went about business. They wrapped up the whole entire Africa qualifier without even losing a single match. So yeah, for me, it was the perfect kind of preparation that they needed.
Test matches must have been tough, though.
The tests were tough. It was really tough. The boys really found it hard to really stand up and put up their best feet. But I believe that they gave it their all in terms of what they have. And it was also an eye-opener in terms of what needs to happen in the domestic circuit of Zimbabwe cricket, especially first-class cricket, if we're to be that competitive at that level. And they showed that there is quite a big gap between the senior side and the next level, which is the A side. So that bridge of playing a lot of games for players as the A side is what was noticed as the missing link in order to prepare us for the next level.
What test matches have you got lined up for the rest of the year? Or is the focus now white ball?
No, focus is back to test. The qualifiers, we finished them at just recently, the start of October. Now we're preparing for Afghanistan, who are coming through to play a test match and a few white ball games in Harare. So there's still a lot of test matches coming through. We're hosting Afghanistan in Harare. So that's the biggest thing that Zimbabwe is preparing for currently.
And just going back, before we talk about the Ashes, about the T20 World Cup, that's going to be in India, I think you said in February, isn't it? That's a competition that Zimbabwe failed to qualify last time. So it's a big boost to Zimbabwe cricket to be there.
Definitely it is. We failed dismally during the Namibia qualifiers, where we lost to Uganda and Namibia, who virtually took the two spots to go to that particular World Cup in the West Indies. So this one, it's definitely a good fight back, where a lot of people feel like Zimbabwe deserve to be playing in the T20 World Cup. And we did it without even missing a heartbeat.
And in that World Cup, what are your hopes in the competition?
Definitely to put up a few upsets. That's what Zimbabwe's been known for. I think one of the most recent upsets that we have was in Australia, where we beat Pakistan narrowly by 1 run. But it's just one of those things that Zimbabwe is known for. We have been known to cause a few upsets going back to the other World Cup that we hosted in 2003. So definitely quite a number of upsets, and also just to showcase the new talent that Zimbabwe has. We've got exciting youngsters bowling wise through Tenda Maposa. And then we also have the usual Blessing Zarabani, Richard Ngaraba. And then also just to give some star players to kind of rise at the platform where you really perform there on such global stages. And the exciting batting talent that we have in Brian Bennett. I believe you saw him at Trentbridge when he played in that particular test.
He did, yeah. And in 20 over cricket, anything can happen. 2 or 3 players can come off and you can win a game against anybody.
Yeah, definitely can happen. So that's just the unpredictability about T20 and how exciting it is. There's just one player being in good form, and I'm hoping that a number of Zimbabwean players are going to be in the perfect form, and then they can just announce themselves on that kind of a big global stage.
Let's have a look at the Ashes. What's the interest in the Ashes in Zimbabwe?
Oh, there's a lot of interest, just basically because of the history of what the Ashes poses. Quite an evenly split amount of supporters that I've come across, mostly some supporting Australia, and then others also they support England. But the English supporters, they're a bit worried about Australia because of just how good they have been in recent times as well. But they've got a few things that they think will work in their favor that they're looking forward to when you're looking at the current state of Australian cricket right now.
So what are those things you think work, or your supporters think will work in England's favour?
Pat Cummins, the uncertainty about his injury, whether he'll be available to play for Australia, that's one of the big factors. We know how good he is, such as a leader and also as a bowler. And then also just trying to figure out the openers for Australia. That's another thing. They really don't have a solid opening partnership, somebody whom can open up with Kawaja. They've been tinkering with that top order quite a bit. There have been rumors that it might be Manus Labuschagne that might be put up to fill in that spot, and also who will lead the side. If Pat Cummins not playing, will they go to Steve Smith? Are they going to put in somebody else in that captaincy role to be able to lead Australia during these Ashes?
What do you think then to the England pace attack?
I believe that the England pace attack at the moment is one of the most lethal pace attacks. I got a bit worried with the retiring of Chris Woakes because for me, he seemed to be one of those bowlers that's the steady horse that you can always be guaranteed that he will be there. If he's not picking up wickets, he keeps a tight leash on things and just creates or adds value with the bat. We saw how he came on to bat with a hand that was strapped, still trying to push as much as can in that Test series versus India. So that's what I feel that somebody who's going to take up that role has got big shoes to fill. But I believe just with Geoffrey Archer being there, that also adds a little bit of sting into the bowling attack that England would have, as well as Josh Tongue as well. So England do have a really good bowling attack, so as to look at it.
I'm going to give you some questions now, just a yes/no answer. I've asked these to other guests on who will win the men's Ashes. We can develop your answers once you've given the answer. And the first one is: Do you think Mark Wood will be fit? Yes or no?
Yes.
And he will make a difference if he is fit, won't he?
Yes, definitely.
Number 2, would you select Jacob Bethell or Ollie Pope, and give your reasons?
I'll give it to Ollie Pope because of his desire, the experience that he has, and you need a tried and tested player at this particular kind of time. It's not time to be, really trying out people. Jacob Bethell does possess the talent, but right now we need somebody that is tried and tested. So I would definitely go with Ollie Pope.
The next one, you were talking about the Australian batting. It's in the first test at Perth. In Australia's first innings, do you think they'll score less than 300?
No.
But you've got worries with their batting there.
Yes, I do have worries with their batting. But to say that they will score less than 300, I think that's pushing the bar a little bit too much. Because Steve Smith has been in fine nick. Manus Labuschagne also can be in fine nick. Usman Khawaja has been tentative in the past few tests that he's played, but also if he finds a good form, those that did believe that they can push them just above 300. Not 5, but they can get past 300.
I thought I was setting the bar a bit low there. But fourth question, will Joe Root get his first century in Australia?
That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one because he's been chasing that Aussie century for quite a while, and I think in his cabinet that's the only stat that's missing. The pressure might get to him, but we know Joe Root to be a solid player. No, I don't think he'll get it. I don't think he'll get it.
Well, here's an even more interesting question then. Do you think Zach Crawley will score a test century during the series?
No. The reason why I would say no pretty much is because of the approach that England has with their top order. Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett, they're not people that really are looking to play the long haul kind of game of traditional test cricket. They are pretty much the pace setters for baseball. So their job really much is to set a platform. So I can expect him to get a few half centuries, but at 100, nah, I'll be pushing it no.
How do you think, though, the openers will go against the Australian pace attack in their conditions?
I think they'll survive it. They've been tested quite a number of times. If you take a look at how much test cricket that England has played in recent times and the type of bowling attacks that they've also faced recently versus India, Mohammad Siraj and Jasprit Bumrah, if you're able to survive those in English conditions where they have a fair understanding of those, I'm sure that they can be able to navigate the Australian outback. Might be a tough in the first few periods while it's trying to assess conditions, but I think they have the temperament to survive that.
The last question in this batch is, do you think England will score over 500 in any innings during the series?
Yes, it's possible. I believe it's possible.
Well, thanks for answering them. I've got two more, really. Who do you think are the most important players in... This is one person in each team, the England team and the Australian team.
One person for England, Joe Root. Joe Root definitely plays an important role. He's the anchor of the English innings. So definitely him being available for that is going to make a very big impact, the type of form that he will be in. And then as for Australia, I think it'll be Josh Hazlewood. I know a lot has not been spoken about him, but definitely for me, I think that he has the ability and the impact really to make an impression. If it had not been Josh Hazlewood, I would have gone to Pat Cummins, but just because of his injury, even if he does get to play, I don't think he'll be at 100%. So he really might not have that kind of impact that he has. So definitely the baton will have to go to Josh Hazlewood.
And picking up on your point there, if Pat Cummins doesn't play as many tests because of injury, how big an impact will that have on Australia?
It's quite a lot. Pat Cummins is an integral part of Australian cricket. Just as the Test captain, the amount of impact that he has had with the ball, and also sometimes chipping in runs with the bat. And in Australian conditions, he's one consistent bowler for Australia. So him not being there, their overall rating might drop by 3 or so points in terms of how little they are with him missing in that bowling department. So it'll be quite a big impact not having him, but does present opportunities for the likes of Boland to also step up, given the opportunity, and also Cameron Green as well. If he is to be picked to play, they would definitely have a lot of work on their hands to do in order to step up and fill in the big boots of Pat Cummins.
Finally, then, Eli, a prediction from you for the 5-match Test series.
Did I get the India-England one right? I believe I missed it. I had given it 3-2 to England.
Yeah, you definitely gave England. I haven't looked at that. I'll have to check back now.
This one, the Ashes. Um, I would say 4-1 in favor of uh, England.
Well, I hope you're right. You sound
I
very
think a lot of
confident.
people are going to be shocked. A lot of people are going to be shocked by England's performance. They're going to shock you. Pretty much, I believe that there are people who will stand out. Joe Root is form, like I did mention, he's been in magnificent form with the bat. So definitely he's going to give it his best. And the opening partnership of Zach Crowley and Ben Duckett, they are also going to be the backbone of England's innings with the bat. And yes, he might have a niggle here, Ben Stokes, but I believe that he also play a very important role with the ball and bat.
Yes, in the summer, Ben Stokes was England's best bowler.
Yeah, so definitely for me, I think those kind of settings definitely are what will make England successful. They might come into this one as underdogs, but definitely I believe that they have the right kind of setting right now to win the Ashes this time around.
Well, thank you very much again for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion, and thanks very much for your prediction. I hope you're right.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, Steve.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
My next guest on Who Will Win the Men's Ashes is Jane Powell, former England captain and England coach. How are you, Jane?
Thank you for asking. It's exciting, isn't it, building up to the Ashes?
It certainly is. And you've just come back from Cambodia. How did that all come about?
Yeah, bizarre one, that one. Got back on Saturday. The ambassador for Cambodia, the British ambassador for Cambodia, his wife, Nilma Dole-Williams, is a fanatical cricket person. She did a level 2 coach award down in Sussex and just had a conversation at one stage. And she said, I'm trying to develop cricket in Cambodia. Why don't you come out? So I found I had time on my hands at the end of the cricket season. So I said, yeah, I'm coming out. So I went over there for 2 weeks as a guest of Nilma and her husband Dominic, the ambassador, and went to 4 or 5 schools as well as the refugee camp to coach cricket. It was just a fantastic experience, one that I never dreamed ever would come about. But yeah, it was brilliant.
And what age groups were you coaching?
Yeah, varied. So it was mainly primary school children, but with the intention that next year they're moving on to secondary school children. So, and when we were at the camp, it was any child that was around, so they could be anything. We even had one girl in a wheelchair that we worked with as well. So, yeah, I think it was just to introduce the game because obviously there's not a big history of cricket in Cambodia, although their next door neighbours Thailand play now. So hopefully we'll be able to get something going whereby they'll be able to have some festivals and then move on, progress on to play other teams in Southeast Asia. So yeah, it was great fun.
How did you find the abilities of the children?
Yeah, it's like any young child, they've got talent. Everybody's got talent, and it's just a question of how do you get that talent to be realized? We went to a brand new school in Phnom Penh called it's the Reigate Grammar School. So obviously they've got lots of British teachers. So they'll probably be a hub for cricket moving forward because of they understand the game. So there was a few people there. A couple of the teachers came to me and said, "Oh, I played cricket when I was at university." So already there's a spark being ignited there, and I'll look forward to a possible future trip when I can see how it's progressed.
And did you get a chance to do any sightseeing yourself?
Yes, went up to Siem Reap, so I saw Angkor Wat and Bayon Temple and a number of other temples. I saw traditional Cambodian dance. I went to the longest running circus up in Siem Reap as well. Um, but they've got a history that they have to deal with Khmer Rouge, and it's very sad when you look at the history. But you can see that they're a young country looking to progress and move forward, and they've got the desire and they've got the inclination. So I'm sure we'll see them coming forward in the next few years. And while the airport there is the best airport in the world, a brand new airport built by the British, Foster and Partners, and just a fantastic airport. Unbelievable. You wonder where you're going to because it's just sensational.
Well, hopefully you will go back there again, and cricket in your short trip has brought joy to many of the children, and hopefully Cambodia one day will be an ICC member.
Yes, I hope so. And it's interesting because I hope it did bring joy to the children, but they definitely brought a lot of joy to me. So it works both ways. When you give, you often receive. So it's one of those things that I just enjoyed doing very much.
Someone who brought a lot of joy to very many people was the late Dickie Bird, and you were able to get to his funeral in Barnsley.
Yes, that was on Sunday at 2 o'clock, and I flew into Heathrow at 10 p.m. on Saturday night and managed to get the train up on Sunday to go to the funeral. He was my number one ally as Yorkshire president. He was my best supporter, and there was no way I was going to miss that. So it was quite tiring, but it was just something I wanted to honour the great man. What a incredible legend! That word is used too lightly sometimes, but Dickie Bird is well known the world over, and it was just honouring to be there to celebrate a life well lived.
Reading the newspaper reports, it was a wonderful occasion, and Sir Geoffrey Boycott gave a brilliant eulogy.
Yes, but there was 3 or 4 people who spoke about him. Not the least was the vicar of the parish of where we were, but the club chaplain also did a few words, and so did Colin Graves. But Jeff Boycott, as has been reported, probably was the one that most people would know, and he gave some great stories about him and Dickie growing up at Barnsley Cricket Club. So yes, very fitting.
He was a great help to you then, now that you're the president of Yorkshire, because he had been a previous president.
Yes, he had, and he's very supportive. I think being the first female, there could have been a lot of negativity, but there wasn't at all, and certainly not from Dickie. He was the one who was promoting me more than anybody. Kept telling everybody she should be president for life. She should be president for life. That lasts. So it is. I will miss him dearly at the games because we used to talk cricket a lot, and he'd be there for every game. So I'll definitely miss him in future seasons.
He'll certainly be following. He would have been following the men's Ashes, which starts on the 21st of November. How difficult is it to win down under?
I think cricket is one of those games that in the test match format that is more certain than the T20 format. T20 format, I often think anybody can win. So going anywhere in the world, anybody can win a game. But the longer the game, the more difficult it is to win. And the crowds are very, very supportive for the home team, and there'll certainly be a lot of banter that the players will have to contend with. But I think with franchise cricket these days, a lot of players have had a lot of opportunity to play in lots of different countries. In the past, it was more and more difficult to go to India or to go to Australia because the wickets are very different. But nowadays, players have more opportunity to play on these wickets on a more regular basis. But make no mistake, it'll be a tough series, and the side that wins will be the ones who will be physically and mentally tough as they go through, as well as we know that we've got the skill. We know that Joe Root has got the ability. We know that Harry Brook's got the ability, etc. And I'm thinking particularly of the Yorkshire boys, but there's so much talent in that group that they've got the ability to do really well, but it's a tough environment to go to.
I was going to mention that you'll be rooting for Joe Root and the New England vice captain Harry Brook, and there's also Matt Fisher, who was at Yorkshire, now playing for Surrey.
Absolutely, yes. And it's just one of those things that when you get to know these players, you've got a real soft spot to hope that they do well and do themselves justice. I think that's the key thing for me is you want them to do themselves justice. Nobody likes to see a player go into any game and just not do themselves justice. We've all seen the horror debuts that some people have, and you just think that hangs with you a long time. So yes, and there's a lot of talk about can Joe Root get 100 down under? Does that make him one of the best? Well, I mean, his record speaks for itself, and he is certainly for time immemorial, he will be one of the best batters in the world, right up there. And I'm sure that he will get a century this winter.
If England are going to win, who do you think, along with Joe Root, are the really key players for England?
Well, and all these things, Ben Stokes has got to be up there with both bat and ball. You've got to bowl the opposition out. So you've got to be able to score the runs, but you've got to be able to bowl a side out twice. So obviously the bowlers will have to come into play, and they will be the ones that will hopefully pick up the wickets. Now I'm looking forward to seeing Woody. I'll never ever forget Woody when he came down the hill at Headingley in the last Ashes at home. I'd never seen anybody bowl so quickly and with so much passion, and I'm just hoping that he's ready to do the same thing down under, because he'll cause a few issues if he does bowl at full pace.
What are your thoughts on the home side of the Aussies?
Yeah, I mean, you can never underwrite them. You can never undersell them. I think Cummings will be a big loss if he's not able to play, because he's not only shown that he's a world-class bowler, but he's proving to be a good leader, and he's getting the best out of the team. So it'll be interesting to see how they go if he's not fit. But, you've got numerous others. Labuschagne has suddenly started scoring runs. And Steve Smith, you can never write off. They've just got that. And, even when Boland comes in, he has that knack of getting wickets. So they're just, I think both teams are quite evenly matched, if I'm honest. And I think it'll be an interesting series to see who gets the upper hand first. And I think whoever gets the upper hand will take that on.
Talking of leaders, as a former England coach yourself, what do you think to Brendan McCullum and his time as England coach?
I think it's a bit like, I often think of Woodward and the rugby. He had the right players at the right time in the right place. And I think McCullum has got some great players in his side. He's got a good leader in Ben Stokes. And I think he's encouraging them to be positive and play good cricket. And let's hope we've got the right players in the right place at the right time to win the Ashes, because I think they've got the ability. It's just a question now of getting the upper hand over the Aussies and then making sure that you don't let them off the hook.
Finally then, Jane, a prediction from you for this 5-test series.
Well, it's more of a hope, I think. Predictions are always finger up in the wind and who goes where. I'd love to see us win 2-1 at least. If we could win more than 2-1, then that would be an absolute drubbing as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think there'll be it's interesting, you know, I keep looking at various cricket around the world and they seem to be rain affected more than we've been in the last summer. So I'm hoping that we don't get too many rain affected games, and that's why I'm 2-1, because I think a couple may well end up in draws because of the weather as much as anything else and lack of time.
Well, I hope you're right, Jane, and thank you for joining us on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you for asking me. Fingers crossed, eh?
Thanks for joining me, Richard, on who will win the men's Ashes.
Pleasure. Nice to see you, Stephen.
Thank you. Before I get your thoughts on the 2025-2026 Ashes, why do you think the 1954-55 Ashes was England's greatest Ashes achievement?
Well, this is my publishers love a challenging subtitle. They love a subtitle that's going to cause debate. And everywhere I've been to talk about this book, this generally comes up, this claim of mine. So I'll set out for you why I think that, and then you can say, well, that's ridiculous, don't we, afterwards. First of all, as you know, Stephen, wins over there are vanishingly rare. We don't often win the Ashes in Australia. We can all remember the times when we have. We've only ever won twice there after losing the first test. And in 54-55, we were thrashed in the first test by an innings. So that's my first, that's the first point in my argument. Coming from behind to win has only happened twice, and this is one of them. The other one was in 1912-13, I think, if anyone's interested. So that's my first claim. The second is that I think if you look certainly at the post-war wins, we generally only win in Australia when they are either A, in transition, or B, extremely weak. Now, they were very weak, obviously, when Mike Brearley's team went over there in 78-79 because of the Packer defections. It was basically a second-string Australia team. They were pretty weak when Mike Gatting went over there in 86-87. They were in transition when Ray Illingworth won over there in 70-71, and they were in transition in 2010-11 as well when Andrew Strauss's team won over there. In 54-55, Australia were pretty strong. They were not as strong as they had been just after the war. We'd had Bradman's retirement. We'd had Lindsay Hassett had been the captain in 53 over here, but he'd retired. But they'd still got Lindwall and Miller, not quite at their peak, but still pretty good. They'd still got Arthur Morris and Neil Harvey in the batting. They'd still got two young all-rounders called Richie Beno and Alan Davidson. So they were pretty strong in my view. And I'll back that up by saying that when England went off to New Zealand for the final leg of the tour, Australia immediately took off for the Caribbean and won 3-1 over there, I think. They certainly won easily over there. So the Australia team that Len Hutton's men defeated in 54-55 was quite a strong outfit. So those are the two planks of my argument. It's a strong Australia team, and we come back from losing the first test. So that's why I'm claiming it's England's greatest Ashes victory.
I think you've made some very good points there. I often think, when being a bit negative about England, when they talk about 2010-11, the Australian side wasn't that strong in 2010-11.
No, it wasn't. I mean, they'd lost Warne, McGrath and Langer at the end of the previous series over there. And in the interim 4 years, they then lost Adam Gilchrist and Matthew Hayden, didn't they? So you take out those five players from 06-07 and they're considerably weaker, I think. Not to play down the superb combination that England were in 2010-11. That was a great England team.
Are there any similarities, you think, from 54-55 with the current touring side before they've set off?
I think it's a very different world, isn't it? 70 years, 71 years. I think, again, Stephen, as I've been going around talking about the book, I pick this up everywhere, is what is the same is the sense of anticipation. patient. I think people are really, really looking forward to this series. I was at the Cheltenham Literature Festival on Saturday with Mike Atherton, and the questions we were getting from the audience and the responses we were getting, people really think this is the time for England to win over there, and they really think it could be a really classic series with these two teams. So I think I don't think there's much in common otherwise. Well, there is one thing actually. Len Hutton knew that to win over there, you had to have pace bowlers. You had to have good, fit, fast bowlers, and that the series was going to be decided by pace, basically. Well, I think who knows what's going to happen in the next few months, but I think we can already see that the current England setup think exactly the same way, with Mark Wood and Jofra Archer, and the way they, the number of quick seam bowlers they've got in the team.
The difference is clearly in 54-55, preparation was so much different to what's going to happen in 25-26.
Yeah, enormously different. I mean, if I've already used the cliche different world, I apologise, but it really was. I'll just give you some of the dates from the tour, if I may, because these are amazing. They left Tilbury Docks on, of course, they sailed in those days. I hope people would probably know that, but I just should say that. They left Tilbury Docks on September the 15th. They arrived in Australia on October the 7th, so about 3 weeks to get there. The first test, having arrived on October the 7th, the first test doesn't start till November the 26th. And the fifth test ends on March the 3rd. They then go off to New Zealand, where the tour ends on March the 28th. Most of the party arrive home on April the 5th. So let's just get those beginning and end dates again. They left England on September the 15th, 1954. They got home on April the 5th, 1955. That's a tour, I would say. That's a proper tour.
And it certainly is. It's like leaving, involving other sports, it's like leaving at the beginning of the football season and getting back on the Saturday of the Grand National. It
is. I mean, Len Hutton and Godfrey Evans opted, I don't know why, maybe they just thought they needed a rest, opted to sail home as well. Most of the players flew home because obviously they wanted to be home as quickly as possible. Len Hutton and Godfrey Evans sailed home, which takes their absence from home to about 8 months. And Len Hutton had 2 young boys, which is just extraordinary. He hadn't seen them for 8 months by the time he got home.
You've said how difficult it is to win, or how rare it is to win in Australia. Why do you think it is so difficult to win down under?
I think, again, this came up on Saturday. Well, Len Hutton had a quote. He said, the grounds are hard, the ball is hard, the men is hard. The men are hard, sorry. You need to be harder than they are to beat them. Which is a great quote. And it is tough, isn't it? I was with Mike Atherton and Vic Marks at the Cheltenham Literature Festival on Saturday. Both, obviously, Athers captained the team over there, but Vic went on Bob Willis's tour in 82-83. They both talked about the relentlessness of the scrutiny that you're under, the way it never stops. I mean, that was long before camera phones and all that. The media, the intensity of the cricket, the difficulty of the heat. I mean, there's quite a lot in my book about weather. The weather is tough, it's there's no getting away from that. Even after a warm summer that we've just had, that won't have prepared them for playing in those conditions. So, and the overall standard of Australian cricket is so high, I think. That's another thing, don't you think?
Oh, I'd agree, certainly. I mean, I've been to quite a few Ashes test matches, mostly at the Wacker, and as a spectator, from getting there to getting back to your hotel and having a shower, it was quite tough watching.
Yeah, because of the heat. Yeah. I think there was a story about one of the Perth tests on a recent tour where the journalists had to put their laptops in the fridge, take it in turns to put their laptops in a fridge, so that they carried on working. So It's extraordinarily tough place. And the cricketers, even on the tours I've talked about where I think they were in transition, they're still bloody good cricketers, you know. And to win, you're going to have to play really well. England will have to play really well this winter to win.
So what are your thoughts then on this winter?
I'm sort of cautiously optimistic. People ask for a prediction, and I always say, well, I think ruling out the fact that we don't have draws now, I always say 3-2 to England, or possibly 4-1 to Australia. I really don't know. I think that it's that hard to predict. There's a sense that they're over the hill, don't you think? Getting over the hill. Do you think so?
I think that's a possibility, yeah, because they're bowling. They can't still be at their peak, and if Cummins doesn't play all the matches or doesn't even play at all, it's going to be asking a lot of the 4 bowlers they have got.
Very much so, yeah. But you know, so we're all, I suppose, quite pleased when we hear the news about Cummins last week. But then, will Ben Stokes play in 5 matches? I doubt that, really. You know, will he play? Will this be his farewell series? I think that's possible, don't you? So I think there are so many variables. They are well matched, these teams, aren't they? They are definitely well matched, and we know England will keep coming forward and going at them and not taking a backward step. So I'm quite optimistic. Yeah. But equally, I can see it unraveling. This England team is so excited to watch, but also a bit mercurial, I think. You know, it's not like they've swept the board since Brendan McCullum came in, is it? I mean, the brand of cricket has been fantastic, but they've not actually swept all before them.
Overseas with Brendan McCullum, though, we've been very good in the first test. And you mentioned on that tour of 54-55 that we lost the first test. How do you think, what would be our chances if we lost the first test?
Well, I think, Stephen, that might mean I need a new... If we lose the first test and come back to win the series, the paperback edition of my book will need a new subtitle, I think. That's all I'll say about that. Because we didn't just lose the first test in 1954-55. We were absolutely thrashed by an innings, having made a horrendous misjudgment at the toss. So this England team, yes, I think they're capable because they'll put it behind them quite quickly, I think, if that should happen.
And the second test is a pink ball test. And I looked up, and in Australia there's been 13 pink ball tests, and only they've won 12 and lost 1, so it's not going to be a draw, the second test.
No, indeed, no, and that's, yeah. And if we don't win in Perth, that could be 2-0 down, couldn't it? That really is. There's only been one, I think, in 36-37. The tour after Bodyline, England took a 2-0 lead and then blew it. That's only happened once, I think.
Yeah, I think that was Gubby Allen's.
Allen's tour, yeah, well done, yeah.
So are you a Bethel man or a Pope man?
I don't know much about Bethel because he's played so little cricket. But the people who do know seem to think that they're shifting towards Bethel. I think the Pope would be a bit unlucky, wouldn't he? But you know, professional sports are hard school, isn't it? And it seems to me they'll probably go with Bethel, yeah.
And do you think that Joe Root, I've asked people so many times this question, you think he'll get this first Test 100 in Australia?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'll get mountains of runs, yeah. He might not get as many as Alistair Cook in 2010-11, but he'll get a lot. And he'll be, hopefully that'll cement his national treasure status, I think. I hope so, anyway.
Would you agree then that in the 54-55 series that the key England player was Frank Tyson?
Beyond question, yeah. I mean, well backed up. He took 28 wickets. I've been writing a piece about him today, actually, for Wisden Cricket Monthly. It's extraordinary. Perhaps even after spending 12 months studying that tour, I don't think I'd quite realised how brief his career was. 17 tests in all. 1 before we went to Australia, 2 of them in New Zealand at the end of this tour. So his Test career, he really was a meteor a comet that flashed across the sky. But he was the key man, 28 wickets. Bowling, probably as fast as anyone has ever bowled in history. There's a story of John Woodcock, to whom the book is dedicated, the former cricket correspondent of the Times, who was a great friend, once asked Bradman during the Lillian Thompson series in 74, 75, I think, although other story places it, when he told the story, he placed it in at another time. And he said to Bradman, "So who was the fastest you ever saw?" And without hesitating for a second, Bradman said, "Oh, Frank Tyson. Not Harold Larwood, not Dennis Lilly, not Fred Truman, Frank Tyson." So Frank Tyson, for those few weeks, bowled as fast as could possibly bowled. I know we can't prove these things. There were no speed guns then. Bowled as fast as maybe anyone has ever bowled. One of the Australian batsmen got back to the, I'm sorry, I can't recall his name, but they got back to the dressing room after being dismissed by Tyson and said, "That's the first time I've middled it and been caught at slip." So he was ferociously fast. Definitely the key man, yeah.
So if Frank Tyson was the key in 54, 55, if England are going on to win the series this winter, who do you think in your crystal ball will be the key player for England?
Well, the like for like thing would say Archer or Wood, wouldn't it? But again, it seems unlikely that they'll play together in 5 tests. They may not play together at all. They may be rotated, I think. So let's hope it's one of those two. They're both, Mark Wood's a wonderful bloke, and Jofra Archer's such a charismatic figure, isn't he? That wonderful run where he doesn't really seem to be trying at all, and yet the ball hurtles down at 90 plus miles an hour. So, let's hope it's one of those two. With Joe, as I said, with Joe Root getting loads of runs as well.
And you've probably already said it, but I always ask the guests for their prediction at the end.
Yeah, I have, and I said I'm going to stick to 3-2 for England. Yeah, I'm going to stick to 3-2 for England.
Well, that's nice to hear. Anyway, thank you, and thank you very much, Richard, and good luck with your book, Victory in Australia.
Thank you very much, Stephen. It's been great to chat to you.
Hello, Ken. Welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you very much, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, you're used to this gig, doing podcasts yourself.
Well, reasonably used to it, yes. I enjoy doing the podcast, and it's you learn a lot from the people you talk to, and I really gives you some great insights into not only the people, but their insights into their thoughts about the game of cricket.
Well, it's a great show you have, and you recently had one of my guests, Jenny Douglas, 2 S's, talking about her life in cricket and her latest book, Test and Sabotage at the SCG. I hope there's not going to be any of that in this series.
Well, I don't think there'll be any sabotage, but you never know. Funny things can happen during the heat of the battle, can't they?
Oh, they certainly can. Remember Lord's 2023, but we won't talk about that. We'll soon be falling out if we do that, won't we? But we're talking about the men's Ashes that starts on the 21st of November. How much are you looking forward to it?
Oh, very much so. Looking forward to it. It's always a great highlight of the summer of cricket here in Australia in having an Ashes series, and this one will be no different. I'm sure there's a lot of interest and hype around it already. Tickets have sold out, I think, for the first day at least at most of the venues. Some states in the second day as well, and a lot of media speculation around selection of the teams, both particularly the Australian team, but there's been an answer in some respects to the Australian team in the last 24 hours about Pat Cummins. He won't be playing in the first test, so that's one certain that we do know of. But then there are a few other question marks around the Australian batting lineup still to be resolved.
Yeah. So as an Australian cricket supporter, are you? I'm not going to ask for your prediction yet, but confident, worried?
Mildly confident. I wouldn't say overly confident, but mildly confident and a little bit concerned because of certainly with the loss of Cummins is a big loss, at least for the first test. Who knows what happens after that? But there's still a little bit of instability in the batting lineup, and particularly with the opening batsman to partner Usman Khawaja is still a bit of an unknown, and so there's a bit of instability in the batting lineup for sure.
On that subject, who do you think then will be opening with Usman Khawaja, and could it be Marnus Labuschagne?
Well, I think my thinking is that the selectors probably would prefer to bat Labuschagne at 3. And if that's the case, they've got to find someone, obviously, to partner Khawaja. Now, Sam Constas, I think, has probably gone back down the order a little bit in terms of his likelihood to be selected. One who has made a bit of a rush in the last few weeks is Matt Renshaw, who has played Test cricket previously and has had a good last couple of weeks in the one-day series or T20 series, and a player, a bit of a forgotten man in Australian cricket, who played in the first day today of a Shield match again for Western Australia, is Cameron Bancroft, who is 40 not out overnight. So we'll be interested to see if he can go on with it and whether that sort of helps him in his pursuit to make a comeback. But and Jake Weatherald, who's another player whose name has been mentioned in dispatches as a possible opener. He also played a full round of Shield matches due to start today, but he didn't have any luck. He was out for a duck, so that wouldn't have helped his cause. So still a bit of a question mark, I think. And the other match which was due to commence was Queensland playing New South Wales in Brisbane, which was to be Steve Smith's first match for this summer. First day's play was washed out, so that won't help him in getting any practice in before the first test.
I hope we're not going to get all this rain in the Ashes series, unless it's at a convenient time for England, of course.
Well, you never know. In Australia, it's often said that you can have 3 seasons in one day, and that's certainly possible. But look, I hope not, because it would be a great pity if there was any cricket interrupted by rain, because it's, as we said, it's such a great series to look forward to, and the ticket sales are booming ahead, and it would be a great disappointment for people to have bought tickets if there was play was washed out in any day.
You can certainly get those 3 or 4 seasons in a day in Melbourne, as I witnessed in 1998 in the Boxing Day Test, where I did get to the ground. I was in the ground, but didn't see a ball being bowled.
That's certainly happened in, as you said, in Melbourne on many occasions. Three seasons in one day, and let's hope it doesn't happen this year, though.
And at that time, you had a prominent role in Cricket Victoria.
Yes, Stephen, thank you. I was still working at Cricket Victoria as the CEO at that stage, and did so for a few years after that as well. And it was a different era back then, but certainly Cricket Victoria had a much closer involvement in the organisation and management of the test matches than they do these days. But there's still an involvement, but it's more closely aligned with Cricket Australia than it is Cricket Victoria now.
Before I ask for a prediction then, what's your first Ashes memory?
My first Ashes memory would be probably first real Ashes memory is probably 1974-5, Lillian Thompson, but not my first test experience. My first test experience was back in 1960-61 when my parents took me to see Australia play the West Indies, and in a famous series out here in Australia with Richie Benaud, captain of Australia, and Frank Worrell, also Frank Worrell, captain of the West Indies. And it was really, I went to, my mother took me to, I think, the first 3 days of the test match then, and at the MCG, and it was a wonderful experience and got me hooked in some ways onto Test cricket.
That was the Tide Test series as well.
Yes, it was. It was indeed. But look, I don't think anyone who perhaps of my vintage can forget the 74-5 series, which was the sort of a highlight of the Lillian Thompson era, with when they were at their absolute peak, and It was great. Well, as an Australian supporter, it was great to watch them in going full bore against the English team.
That's one of the series we tend to forget over here.
And rightly so.
I'm going to rile some Australian listeners now that one of my abiding memories of Ashes series is, and this will come back to bite me, I'm sure, was I attended the day at Trent Bridge. I'm trying to think what year it is. It's 13 or 15 now, when I remember in the stands standing up when Australia reached 50, and I think you were 9 down at the time. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not. I'm pleased to say. Stephen, with the England squad, and from what I don't profess to know a great deal about the makeup of your squad, but I do know that there are, I think, 11 players who have never played a test in Australia prior to this coming series against Australia. What impact do you think that will or won't have on the outcome of the series for England?
Well, funny you should say that, but Roland Butcher, who's a regular on this podcast, talked about the differences of playing in Australia, the light, the bounce, and the hardness of the cricket on Australia, which he favoured the Australians for winning the series. Although a lot of players nowadays have played in Australia in other formats, but not in Test cricket. Albeit Harry Brook played in the Big Bash and didn't do particularly well. This particular series I've been doing, who will win the men's Ashes, I've asked so many other people for their predictions, so I think it's about time I gave mine, really. Having been to 7 Ashes tests, I've only seen one victory, Melbourne 1998. I'm more confident this time. I think England have got more of a chance than they've had for a long time, certainly since 2010-11. And are the Australians, for instance, I'll throw this back to you before I give my prediction, Ken, is the Australians a bit of a dad's army team?
Well, you could suggest that, and rightly, and you have, I think. But certainly, with Stark, Hazelwood, Boland, Cummins, and Smith, they were batsmen. All well into their 30s. You could suggest that, but I think there's and Khawaja, of course, who's 38. But I think there's plenty of youth and vitality still around them, and look, the likelihood of Stark, Hazelwood, Boland, certainly Cummins won't be playing the first test. All playing the 5 series, 5-match series is unlikely. So you would think that perhaps that maybe another fast bowler may be blooded throughout the series at some stage. And of course, Nathan Lyon's no spring chicken either, but he could play a significant role in the series, I would think.
I do think the first 2 tests are key. Because I think there'll be 2 results in the first 2 tests at Perth where they still say it's quick and bouncy, and Brisbane with a pink ball test. I can't see that lasting 5 days. So if England are going to win the Ashes back, I think it's imperative they win one of the first 2 tests. And for any team who loses the first test, they're really on a coin toss, really, because there's going to be a result at Brisbane.
I think you're right on all counts. I think I would agree with you that if England are to win the series, they must win, or ideally must win in Perth. And for that reason, I was going to ask you the question which has been raised a little bit here about England, assuming they're both fit, playing both Mark Wood and Jofra Archer in that first Test match. That'll give them their best. Probably the best chance of winning if both those fast bowlers play. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and I asked that question to Roland Butcher only half an hour ago, and he was very cautious of England rushing back Mark Wood, because I asked him, should we hit Australia hard by playing both Wood and Archer in the first test? But he made a very good case, what with Wood, Archer, Stokes it's a high risk to play all three of them, and obviously Stokes is going to play, and I'll presume Archer will play, to play all three in the same side.
Look, that's Roland would know, have a far greater idea than I would about that, but it's probably the case. But that being said, Australia have had success in the last 12 months or so with Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Boland on occasions when others have been rested. And so, but I certainly take the point with Wood, coming back from an injury layoff. You'd need to be 100%, probably 110%, as they say, certain that he can stand up, and because you'd want him to play not just the first test, you'd want him to play at least another two, I would have thought.
Yes, and he's not played since the Champions Trophy in February, so I don't know when the last time he played a full red ball game, but I think they might have to take that risk if he is fit to play them both in that first test. And with that in mind, and possibly the Australian top order unravelling, you won't want to be in the position where Usman Khawaja has to be left out later in the series if he doesn't get the runs. I'm sticking my neck out and going for England 3-2 because Ben Stokes doesn't do draws.
Okay, well that's a good point, but I'm going 3-1 with a draw. I'm predicting a draw. I'm saying Australia to win in Perth, Brisbane, and Melbourne. I'm calling Melbourne the Scott Boland test. That's where he has a lot of success here in Melbourne, so I'll mark that down as a win for Australia. England to win in Adelaide and a draw in Sydney. Now I'll probably be blown out of the water with my predictions, but there they are anyway.
So you don't agree with Stuart Broad that it's the worst Australian team since 2010-11?
No, I don't. No.
I'm sure he's trying to stir it up a bit. So
I've got no doubt about that. But look, there's certainly some uncertainty about it. There's no question about that, and I certainly couldn't argue with that. But I still think there's enough quality in the lineup to bring home the bacon, so to speak.
Well, thank you very much, Ken, for being on this final part of Who Will Win the Men's Ashes. I must tally up how many people thought England would win and how many people thought Australia would win. I think more people thought Australia would win the series than England. And I must thank Simon Finch, the trumpeter of the Barmy Army, who very optimistically went for an England 5-0 win.
Wow, that certainly is optimistic, but you never know, do you? In the game of cricket, it's a funny game, as they say. But let's hope it's a good series and that it lives up to all the hype around it. It's certainly happening out here at present.
That's it from me in our series, Who Will Win the Men's Ashes? I hope you've enjoyed hearing from our 26 guests, each sharing their opinions and predictions on what promises to be an unforgettable series. I haven't counted who the majority backed, probably Australia. But if you're an England supporter like me, let's hope Finchy, our Part 2 guest, has called it right. Thanks for listening, and whatever the final outcome, let's hope we get a series to remember. You can catch this episode and the whole series on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or on our YouTube channel.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Ah, the sounds of an Etsy holiday. Now that's special. Want to hear it again? Get original and affordable gifts from small shops on Etsy. For gifts that say, I get you. Shop Etsy. Tap the banner to shop now.